take one on that. It'll be take two.
Oh my God. This is take one. Action.
Here we are. Thank you so much for coming in today, Ady. We did start recording this a minute ago and I didn't press this red button, so we're going to, we've got 2 minutes in, we're starting again.
Yeah, we're
cheating. Such a pleasure to have you in the studio here today. Ady Matt from the Testeagles.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. It's all right. It's all right.
What are we doing? Okay, I start with this because I'm redoing this. My head is a bit scrambled. But first question I ask people: if you could be an animal, what animal would you be and why?
Yeah, and I have to choose the eagle, even though my band's name is called Testeagles, and obviously we didn't call it Testeagles because we love eagles, but eagle's very powerful, can travel wherever it wants and fly above everyone. And I feel like it's really in control of its own life, despite life probably still being difficult for an eagle, I'd assume.
You mentioned you didn't name it because of eagles, but Testeagles, where did the name come from?
Yeah, well, you just said it in a certain way, which makes it obvious. But we weren't actually taking it that seriously. So when Maddie and I are in the band and we're brothers, and I don't think we really wanted to be in a band with each other because we were like young teenagers and we didn't like each other that much. He liked like grunge kind of music, like Nirvana and stuff like that. And I was like, I kind of hate that music. I was into like real death metal and grindcore and stuff like that. And, you know what it's like, I guess, like siblings as young teenagers. We were like, nah, we won't be in a band together, but we had separate bands. And but what would happen is we had a jam room in our house, and a lot of the other kids from school that were supposed to be in our bands wouldn't always show up. They didn't quite take it as seriously as we did. Throwing shade at people now. I still love them, but everyone has their lives. We live there, so it was easy for us. We had no choice. We were going to show up to a rehearsal because it was at our house, so we had it easy anyway. But the point was, you would organise a band practice or something and a couple of people would cancel. So then it was just me and Maddie there together. So we're like, oh, yeah, let's jam. Let's do something or whatever. And then one day, someone had lent us, I think it was a 4-track recorder. It might have been an 8-track, but it was like a 4-track recorder. And it was just Maddie and I in the house. And we were like, oh, we have to use it. I don't know, what are we going to do? We'll just write something. We'll write a song or two and we'll record it. And that became our demo tape. So we had no idea. We didn't have a band. We weren't really anything. We were just like, we just write something so we can use this, bit of machinery. And then we played it to, some friends and family. And one of Dad's friends was like, this is amazing, you should put it out and, share it with everyone. And we were like, whatever, no, we're not taking this seriously. We don't want to be in a band together. And we're just like, it's just a bit of fun, like a bit of joke. And he's like, oh, well, you should call your band Testeagles because, like Testeagles, it's funny. So we're like, yeah, we're not taking this seriously. We'll do a joke thing and we'll put it out on tape and whatever else. So he was very like, we don't care. We're seeing the whole thing as just a bit of fun and a little bit silly.
Experiment.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we got such a silly name. And then got like a pretty decent following pretty quickly. So then we always felt like, oh, we can't really change the name now. It's going to be confusing. So we stuck with it forever.
How old were you at that stage?
Like 14 maybe, 13 or 14, that kind of age. Yeah. Okay. That was the early days. All these years later, as an old man, having another go at it.
Have another crack.
Yeah.
All right, step us back to those early days. Tell us about your childhood, growing up, primary school, family. What was family like? What was growing up like? What was school like?
Yeah, so I grew up in Morpeth Vale, and it was a kind of, it was an interesting area. It was pretty cool. There was a lot of community with the school friends. We lived across the road from the schools, like the primary school and then the high school were like directly across the road from it, which kind of sucked because I remember trying to not go to school one day and our parents could just watch us from the living room that we were walking in the wrong direction. So they're like, what are you doing? But anyway, we had a musical family. Like Dad was in bands when he was younger. And so the house always had a guitar and a keyboard and stuff sitting around. So I think Maddie and I always were going to, we had no choice really. Like, I mean, we did, but we just fell in love with it when we saw Dad play music. So.
Well, I was watching him. I've been hanging out with you guys for these few days. You had the gig on the weekend, and your dad really seemed to be right onto the music and the levels and all of that. He was right into it. He's obviously got a lot of experience there, yeah?
Yeah. So, it's interesting because I feel like when we first started out on instruments, he wasn't that keen, like I wanted to play drums and I pretty much got told no straight away because it's too loud, too annoying. But he ended up getting us a guitar to share, like Maddie and I a guitar. And we learned that together for a little bit. And then I was just like, nah, I still want to play drums. And to be honest, like Maddie was really, really good at guitar, like really quickly. And I just felt like I just couldn't keep up. So I'm like, I have to play a different instrument than him. This is embarrassing for me. But yeah, anyway, there was like years and years of like trying to talk Dad into helping us. And then he kind of just came on board and just was our big supporter and helped us do whatever we wanted to do. And I think he already had some experience in the music industry and in his own band, but I think he learned a lot with us. And, so we started doing our live sound. And then when we recorded Chum, he was basically the sound engineer for that because, it's free. All that stuff was expensive. I think we paid like $1,000 a day for the studio and we couldn't afford to pay anyone else to do it. So we're like, Dad, you're doing it. And it was a learning experience kind of for everyone. But yeah, and obviously we did it for a really, really long time. So, we developed our skills together over the years, yeah.
So you and your brother were playing instruments from what age?
Like 5, I guess. Yeah, I mean, seriously, seriously. How can you be serious when you're that much of a kid? But like, I think we're obsessed with music. We, there's some really, really funny tapes of us. We have some instruments. Like, I don't think I'm even on drums. I don't even know what I'm doing, like pots and pans or something. And we're like, ready, set, go. And we just like start playing a song. And it's pretty cute stuff.
So you had a beat, you could understand beat and rhythm and obviously all that basics.
And I think we're always really like, even then we were trying to do our own thing. Like we never had an interest in like covering other songs or, trying to do what anyone else is doing. It was just like, we want to make these sounds that are different kind of thing, which I find quite interesting now to look back on. We never had that draw of like, oh, I want to cover this song and that song and kind of be like them or anything like that. But yeah, from like about 10 years old, we like got proper lessons and like really tried to get really good at our instruments. And then we had a band with Dad actually. We did play in like a party band as kids with Dad and his mate. And yeah, that was a good experience, I think, because we got used to kind of, even though they were just like parties and stuff like that, we got used to kind of like performing for people even as little kids. So when the TEs kicked off, it was like we didn't have like massive nerves because we'd already had some experience on it. Yeah.
Got used to messing up in front of people and being all right with it?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I remember, there was a big learning experience doing that. So we got to learn in a band that no one knows about, and then when TEs, because we did that demo tape straight up and that got around the area and a lot of people listening and a lot of people would come see us. Yeah, we didn't have to kind of get used to people seeing us then because they'd already played to, and I think to older crowds as well, which was interesting as kids.
What year are we talking?
Oh, man, I don't know. You're testing my memory. I'm old, Zolly. I can't remember anything. Yeah, again, we would have just been like real, like 12-year-olds or whatever, like kids.
And you'd released a Testeagles name at that stage?
As a demo. I don't know how old we were. We're talking like 93 or something. So I guess we were probably like 15 or something like that when the actual like TE tape came out. But yeah, the few years before that, we're playing in like party bands or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting times. It was difficult then than it is now. So everything's changed, which is crazy.
But there's a good live band scene. So you're in your mid-teens then. You're still in high school and you're still at school and you're in a band?
Yeah,
and people
definitely
know you. How did that feel?
Yeah, well, we had the craziest high school. It was actually really amazing. We had amazing music teachers, and they were very like supportive of us being in music. We had like lunchtime concerts, like epic. Even in the morning, like assembly. I remember, like, I think it was only like grade 8 or something. Maddie played this like Jimi Hendrix thing or something. This big guitar solo at like morning assembly, and the whole school was just like, "Oh my god, this kid!" And all the girls like screaming for him, and like he was like the full rock star of the school. It was like, yeah, it was kind of bizarre, but yeah, no, it was fun. It was.
You're right. So he knew it back then. It just flowed. It flowed through him. The music.
Oh, definitely, man.
Both of you.
Maddie's a really quick learner, and it was pretty frustrating for me as a younger brother, to be honest, because he was just like, you pick something up and he's just like really, really good at it instantly. And yeah, probably an interesting story to tell there was when you start high school, like, and you want to get in like the school band, you're told that, you know, you got to learn for years and years, and then maybe when you're in grade 11, if you're lucky, or probably in 12, you can join the school band because then you'll be good enough. Anyway, Matty auditioned for and got in the school band on his first day of high school. So, yeah.
No, okay. So, so age difference. It's just you and your brother?
Yeah. We're just the only kids there, and we're not kids anymore, but
we're all kids.
Matty's about a year older than me, and yeah, you know, he I always kind of was chasing him, I guess, as far as like I said, it was a bit frustrating because he was so good at everything. I was like, this guy, all right, I got to get really good at something too. And he doesn't really seem to care about drums at this point, so I'm going to get good at the drums. That was yours. Yeah.
And so did you both finish school? Did you get all the way through to school?
Nah, man, we left school in, I don't know. Yeah, we wanted to do music. It was probably a silly decision, really, but we knew we were going to be musicians and we were going to be like rock stars, and that's what we're going to do our whole lives, and we wanted to put everything into it, and we already had the band going and we're already doing all this stuff. So somehow we talked Dad into just being like, nah, we're out. We're going to go tour. We're going to play shows and play all these gigs, and saw some crazy stuff as 16-year-olds playing in pubs and yeah, stuff like that.
So what year did you complete, or what year did you finish up in?
11.
Yep, got to 11.
Yeah.
And Maddie about the same?
Yeah.
At that stage. And so, okay, the live scene in Adelaide, we're talking, what year are we talking now?
Well, yeah, this is interesting actually, because as we were starting up TEs, we really loved going to the local gigs that were already pumping. There was the mid-coast scene where you had the Bearded Clams, and then bands like Clowns of Decadence.
Oh, good. That's so good. So entertaining.
They would play down south and in Glenelg and Brighton, all that kind of stuff with the Numbskulls, and they'd do
great band.
Do some city shows as well. And we just loved that. We would go to all those shows and we'd be diving off the stage and moshing with everyone, and yeah, that was such a good time.
It was Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. There'd be surf club from Glenelg to the mid.
Yeah.
There's probably 3 nights a week, sometimes more.
100%.
And all those venues had, 3, 4, 5 bands playing in a night, yeah?
It was freaking amazing. It really, really was. It was such a good time. And I think that, that probably motivated us so much as well, seeing those bands doing it. And it was just so fun and exciting, and that was so cool. And and they were all nice guys as well, Dave Orlett and Chris Murphy, Matty Blows, all from Numbskulls. They helped us out so much, man. I think our first couple of shows, we supported them, and they were giving us all this advice, We thought they were the older boys. They're probably only a few years older than us. Not that big of a difference really, but they'd been doing it a little while, yeah. And yeah, just the fact that they were having such a good time and we could see it, and they were so nice to help us out, has motivated us a lot too. And yeah, we couldn't have done it without that scene, man. We wouldn't exist without that scene, I don't think.
How often were you playing gigs at that stage?
Oof. I mean, it slowly ramped up. But we just played gigs, like so many shows, man. Just
It's like
few
one a week kind of thing?
More than that, I reckon.
yeah.
A few, like three a week at one stage. And then when we started traveling interstate, it was just like every day.
Who's that beeping? Is that one?
One of these?
No, that's all right.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so actually, while we've just paused on that, we'll come back to the live bands. I'll just check that one.
Maybe reset everything, yeah.
All right, that was my GoPro got too hot and it turned off, so I got a reason for getting up then.
It's a very hot day. It's hot in Adelaide right now.
It is.
Beautiful.
We were talking about the live band scene in Adelaide and gigs and how often you're playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because it was a slow ramp up, Like, I remember, like, kind of begging those guys. We would go to all their shows and we'd beg them, like, oh, can we open for you guys or whatever and all that kind of stuff. Here's our demo. Check it out. So at first it was like we were fighting to get a gig, and then, before too long we would, just play all the time whenever we could. In our minds, there was no reason why we couldn't play every night. So let's just like keep going. And you learn a lot doing that too. But we also played for their birthday parties in their backyard and stuff like that. We did those gigs. And I still remember some of them were wild, man. It was crazy. Like,
big surf culture and skate culture and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we played in Chris Murphy's backyard for his birthday or something like that, and it was wild, dude. Like, the crowd's just going mad.
And this is probably mid-90s.
Yeah, this would have been like 93 or 4 or something like that, I reckon.
Yeah. And so you just playing, you finished school, you're not even 18 yet?
Nah, not 18.
How are you getting to these gigs? How are you getting around?
Dad. Yeah, Dad helped us out. I remember when we played our first show at the Tivoli in the city, it was funny actually because like we tried to get this approval to get in. Like they wouldn't let us in unless our parents were there. And I remember we went in there during the day to get some kind of deal going. And are you good?
Yeah, you keep going.
Yeah, we went in there during the day to, I don't know, get some permission thing signed or something so we could get in there and play this show in a pub. And turned up there with Dad and there was just this like naked woman in there dancing around. It was like some kind of business lunch, like stripper thing or something. And I was just like there, I was at like 14 or something, just going, okay, this is all right. I'm like, oh, now I kind of get why kids aren't supposed to be in here. But so like Dad kind of like he didn't have to, but he did it for us. But we couldn't have done it without him as well because like we literally could not get permission to be in these places to play without having parents there. So, yeah. And
so you did that for how many years were you playing in? So you started small gigs in Adelaide, Surf Club, Holdy, Lenny's.
Yeah.
Seacliff Yacht Club, places like that.
Yeah. I think Brighton
Adelaide
Footy Club. Yeah. Well, there was the two different scenes. Like I always thought the two different scenes are very, very different. And the mid-coast down south thing was like just huge, man. So big. And, we kind of just jumped onto that. Like, thanks to everyone who like created it. I know. I like to think we helped drive it along once we got in there. But it definitely already existed before we got in. That was really cool. But then we would try and play shows in the city, the Crown and Anchor and the Tivoli and maybe the Exeter or something. And man, like we would play a massive show down south, like 500 people or something. And it was just wild, everyone going crazy. And then we'd play on a Sunday at the Crown and Anchor and there was like 3 people there.
Because all the surf culture, you guys, again, a lot of numbskulls, those bands. It's surf culture. You play the mid-coast, everyone surfs, and then they go at night, drink beers, and thrash around in the mosh.
It was what to do. And then, it was more like the place to be. And then when we, when we tried to venture out into the different scene in the city, it was just like, eh. And all the city people had no idea what was going on in the mid-coast. And they didn't know that surf culture at all. They didn't understand it. They weren't. Like, especially in those days. So they didn't really think anything of us or maybe even any of us because they didn't know how good that was, what they were missing out on.
Well, there's no social media. No one can hear your music. You only got a CD in the club. Like you can't, there's a flyer. You print a flyer and put it on a window and then you know who's playing at the next gig. But that would reach the coast, not the city.
Yeah. But we use that. We actually, I don't even know if we did this on purpose, but it happened. There was a Melbourne band came over and played in the city, And we talked to them and said, hey, we have this really good scene going on down south. We do these shows with a whole bunch of people. Would you do this deal? Like, if we get you on those shows so you can play to some big crowds, will you book us some shows in Melbourne for us? And yeah, they did. And that was our first time going interstate.
And so what, again, we're talking, we're at 95 yet?
Yeah, probably, I think because Chum was 95. So this would have been before Chum still. So I guess it was 94, maybe early 95 or something like that. So yeah, we're probably about 18 by the time we started going to different states and everything. But I remember those boys, the family, they were called, that band with John and John Watson. I can't remember the other guys, to be honest. But
No, that's all right.
yeah, but they were cool. They helped us out. We gave them some gigs down south. They gave us some gigs in Melbourne, and then we slept on their floor.
Band. You're now a travelling band.
Yeah, and then we did a similar kind of thing to get to Sydney, and we worked really hard, man. Like, once we could travel, we were definitely playing all the time. So you go to Melbourne, then go straight to Sydney, then go to Brisbane, and then back to Melbourne, and we spent a long time away from home, just going back and forth between all the other cities, just trying to get everyone's attention,
And who were the members of the band? And what instruments were they playing?
Testeagles.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't done that yet, have we? Yeah, so Ady Matt's my brother. He's a singer, guitarist, and in that moment we had a guy called Dino who played bass, and he was one of Maddie's mates, basically. He was just like went surfing with him and hanging out, and he was in that scene. He would go to all those mid-coast shows and everything, and I remember Maddie saying, oh yeah, we need to get someone to play bass, and I'd rather just like a mate that was like cool to hang out with. Again, at that stage, we knew we wanted to be musicians, but I don't think that band we were taking like super seriously. We just wanted to like be in that scene and have a bit of fun. And so he was like, I'd rather like do it with a mate rather than find like someone that's like really good at bass or whatever else. So Maddie like taught him how to play, and yeah, we got started, and it was good. It was good for a bunch of years. So he was with us through that period, and then we had a bit of a disaster on the road. Yeah, when we were traveling from Sydney to Queensland one night, and our van caught on fire. Yeah, it was pretty rough. And we were driving along the highway, and all of a sudden it got light outside, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? And the next minute there's like flames all around us, and we're just trying to get out and trying to stop the van and get out, and then everything's burning. And
you got a van with all your kit in there, all your instruments,
all
everything.
the gears in there, yeah. And I remember we opened the back door, the big door, and it probably made it worse because, the oxygen or whatever went in, all the flames shot out everywhere, and we saved some of the gear, but we lost a lot of gear. And we had a few little burns and things like that, burns on our hands and stuff. And yeah, that was kind of it. It was really weird. It was a really weird period. We felt like we'd never play again, to be honest. Yeah.
You lost a heap of stuff, and you're young, and you're distraught. What? So you couldn't finish the show? You couldn't finish that tour?
No. It was like just even that night experience was crazy because we were in the middle of nowhere and we were stuck, and we had nothing. All our ID, like our ID and like cash and credit cards and everything, all our wallets burned in there. We didn't have anything at all, and we were just on the side of the road, and like we were just like, what do we even do? We were hours and hours from anywhere.
Is this daytime, nighttime?
Nighttime. It was like 2 a.m. or something.
Do you know what caused the fire or anything?
Oh, so we just put a brand new engine in the van. We thought we were doing the right thing. The engine's done a bunch of Ks. We've been touring so much. We'll take it in. We'll get some guys to put a brand new engine in, and we'll be sweet. So it was like a fuel line or something. So they must have buggered something up, put something in wrong, put the wrong thing in, or I don't know.
Who was travelling in the van with you that night?
Yeah, it was all of us plus Dad. So yeah, Maddie, Dino, myself, and Dad. Dad was driving, and yeah, it was stressful. And I guess we were pretty young and like maybe a bit soft or whatever. Like it was really like we had some PTSD from that,
How much would be so devastating? I'd be sitting on the side of the road crying, surely.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we were. Yeah, we felt like we were letting down the shows that we were supposed to play, and we just felt really lost and stuck on where to go and what to do. And then I remember just thinking, no, and that's it. It's over. You know, everything's over. And we had actually probably these just amazing people around us because we got back to Adelaide eventually, and the crew, like Ben and Damage, crew like that, people that used to like help us set up and do lights and you know all that kind of stuff for us. They were like, "No, you're doing a show. You're doing a show," and I'm like, "No, I don't even have a drum kit. I can't do a show. Like, fuck this. You know, sucks." And all those people around us in the scene, they booked a show for us. They advertised the show. And I was like, you guys are fucking idiots. Get out. I'm not doing it. I'm like, I don't even have a drum kit. And then they borrowed stuff. And we did the show, obviously. And I used this drum kit that was pieced together from multiple drum kits. It was like a tom from this guy's drum kit and then a tom from that guy's drum kit and this other guy's snare or whatever. And they literally, and I was just, you know, I was about the dummy. I was in a mood. I was a moody kid. I was like, no, I'm still not doing it. And
how soon after the fire was this gig?
It was probably like a couple of months or so.
Okay,
yeah, we took a bit of a break. And, but yeah, these guys, like, I remember Ben, he literally came to my house and just dragged me out of my room. So you're fucking doing it. And we did it, and it was, you know, we hadn't played for a while, so great crowd response. Everyone was happy. Everyone knew about the story and everything, so supported us a lot. And that was it. And then, then I probably took off more after that. But Dino didn't. Yeah, he didn't want to continue on. So, that's when we asked Dee to join the band, who was already in a high school band with Maddie, you know, grade 8, grade 9 or whatever. They played in a band together, and Dee played in a band called Mindset that supported us in Adelaide for a few shows. And then we kind of went on tour together. When I say kind of, is we both toured Melbourne, I think, at the same time and ended up meeting up afterwards. I don't think we even played on the same shows, but we just kind of saw each other and met up. And this is right as that was kind of all happening. And then we were just like, let's ask Dee to do it. And he's been a good mate for a long time. And his band's really good. We felt a bit bad like stealing him from his band, but we did it anyway.
And so he came on board and what year's that one? What year are we at now?
Probably not. Oh, it was definitely 98. Yeah, okay. I think like August 98 is when he played his first show, which was pretty weird for him because we were pretty pumping. Like we'd had Chum out and Beasting out and Friends out, I think. And our shows are getting like bigger and bigger and bigger. And the first show he played for us was like this big festival thing in Queensland. And he was just like, what the hell is this? What have I walked into? And then not long after we started recording Non-Comprehendus, you know. So yeah, he got a pretty good ride into that. But I think his influence was like perfect at the time as well, because he had a lot more. I mean, we were all interested in hip hop and stuff like that, but he had a really, really strong interest and knowledge and background in that. So that brought it out even more, and like we mixed our musical styles even more so than what we were before. So it was good to get there and become that before we did our full album, because the other things before that were just EPs, and Non-Comp was, you know, our first full length album that we were like putting everything into, and it was, you know, on Sony and all that kind of crap. So it was good to kind of get to that position before we did it. Yeah.
Run through. So how many albums, EPs had you made? Run through them and roughly when you released them.
Yeah, so I don't know, the demo tape, does that count? We did a demo tape in 93, something like that, and then 94 maybe. I'm probably wrong. Google it. I'm
somewhere
wrong.
There.
But don't listen to Wikipedia because that's also wrong. I know that for sure. And then we did Chum in 95, and then we did Beasting, which probably would have been 96, I think. And then Friends was a EP. So they were all EPs, like 7 songs each, roughly 6, 7 songs. Yeah, Beasting and then Friends. And that Friends would have been 97 or 98 maybe. And then early 99 we started recording Non-Comprehenders. So, yeah. And I think did turn that shit up in like July 99 or something like that it came out. Yeah.
July 99, like 25 years ago.
Crazy. Oh, it blows my mind that people remember us and know us. Like, yeah. We just did Froth and Fury the other day. And
It's the family. We're back together again.
like so many people, and they were all like singing like every word.
Oh, they knew the words. Yeah.
And I was just like, man, this is mind blowing. I honestly thought everyone would have forgotten who we were, and who cares?
I'm really not surprised at the turnout and the following that you guys have got.
Okay, yeah. We loved being involved with your stuff back in the day because we were so into the extreme sports thing, you know. I mean, it's the Gen X. The thing at the time was kind of what you did, and being from that down south area too, or into that. And
I was born with a volatile vision.
you know, we used to even plan our tours like when we were like, we're going to play in Canberra. I was like, we got to go to Belconnen Skate Park, you know, like we've seen it in the skate mags and stuff. So we planned our tour a little bit differently so we could have an extra day to go to the skate park.
Because you guys are into skating and surfing as well, Maddie and you? You skate and surf?
Yeah, Maddie mostly, really. Maddie was a pretty good skater, but we all did it like for fun and like, yeah. We grew up on the beach, you know, so yeah. Dad was a sailor actually, and we played our first gigs probably not as TEs, but in other things at like a sailing club. So it's so funny how that happens because it turned out to be the scene, but when we were doing it as little kids, it wasn't really the scene, but yeah.
And so through your teens, that's what you did. You were playing music and you were making enough to get by playing music? Enough to get you to the next gig? Or did you actually put some money every now and then, get new kit, new equipment?
Yeah, we made enough money to get by. It was up and down, you know. It was all over the place. Sometimes we're pretty poor, you know.
Not as glamorous as what you think. You're playing all these gigs. Oh, man, they're huge. It's like, no, we're just getting by. You know, we're loving what we're doing. And
yeah, I mean, it wasn't probably until like 99 or 2000 where we started to get some stuff for free. You know, companies would offer us free clothes and we'd get, you know, free, you know, sticks and skins.
Not
and
much in the grand scheme of things.
Drums, but, you know, before that, you had to pay for everything and everything's expensive and difficult. But yeah, you'd play a show and you'd sell tickets and you'd try and sell some CDs and some T-shirts and
Get a bit of
stuff like
merch.
that.
Yep.
and scrounge it all together. But you had to count every dollar, man, to like make it work. I remember someone tried to rip us off one night in Melbourne, and they just weren't going to pay us because, I don't know, I guess they needed the money themselves or whatever. And we were just like, well, it was like that on the edge that if we didn't get the money we were supposed to get on one night, then we were going to be in big trouble. So
You couldn't drive home, no petrol money.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we had to. We got it because well, let's not talk about how we got
Push
it.
comes to shove,
But we
you
got
got-
it because you have to. There's no surviving without it. So yeah, it was very like shoestring budget kind of thing. Yeah.
And how did all the merch side of it work? Did you guys handle all that stuff as well?
That was a kind of annoying learning experience. Yeah. We had some friends that were like into art and into this and that, and we kind of asked them to help out and design some things and do all that. But man, I know we made a lot of mistakes. Like even when we first come out with Chum, they stuffed the cover up. It was supposed to be red and it came out pink. So the first pressing of Chum was all pink, and we were a bit embarrassed about it at the time. And yeah, we'd made some shirts and stuff that came out a bit of a mess, but yeah, we learned, got there eventually.
Learning curve.
But it's doing everything on a budget as well. Like we couldn't just go to some big company that always do it and do it well. We're like, we had to find a mate who knew a mate
Yeah,
who could
a
like
shed
do
in
this.
Lonsdale, there's plenty of little printers and stuff like that down there. And you don't do a run of 100 or 50 or however many that you can afford to print.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Hope to sell them.
Yeah. No,
Get the
for
right
sure.
sizes.
So difficult. Yeah, I mean, we even went through that this time, but it was a bit easier nowadays.
Yeah, okay. So you were about 99-ish, turned that shit up. That started to get some serious radio play. Before then, your live venues, maybe Triple J. Were you getting played on radio stations at that stage?
Yeah, we got some love from Triple J, but it was more like the late night stuff. I think Richard Kingsmill had a show, I think called like Australia Only or something. We'd play just Australian music on it. But I think it was on like late at night, and it wasn't like, it wasn't prime time. It wasn't like super, super popular. But he loved Beasting. I remember he played that a lot. And I think he played some of Friends and that as well. We went in for a couple of interviews and did that stuff. That was cool. It got us like somewhere. And
Do you remember being in a car and hearing this song on the radio? Can you... Anything like that?
Yeah, I think we were in the van together and in Melbourne, I reckon. And we heard like Beasting on Triple J, and it was, so trippy. So trippy, man. I mean, yeah, we probably relive that again when Non-Comp and like Turn That Shit Up came out, and it would just get played just constantly. We were just like, whenever you get in the car, you turn it, because we always listen to Triple J, you turn it on, it's like, oh, it's just us again, no worries. It was so trippy. But Turn That Shit Up is an interesting story, I reckon, because we had actually gone into the studio and recorded Non-Comprehendus, the full album, and Sony were like, oh, you have to go back into the studio and record some B-sides. So Underdog was going to be the first single. And, so they want to put a couple of songs with it for the single. And we didn't really have anything. So we went back in for a day and thought, we'll make up, we'll make something up. It doesn't really matter if it's good or bad. It's just another song to go on with Underdog. And, we wrote Turn That Shit Up in in an hour or so. And, then as soon as later that day, we sent it to everyone and they're like, okay, now this is your first single. Now you need to do some more B-sides again because,
You've just pushed it through the rank.
Yeah, we just added it on in the last second, after we thought everything was already finished. And obviously, that song had a big impact for us. So,
did you know it was going to be differently placed on the ladder than others at the time?
Yeah.
You knew it.
Yeah, there was something about it. It's when a song's really easy to write, you know it's going to be popular. When it just kind of flows out and comes out of you, you're like, oh yeah, people are going to like this one. And just the reaction from all our friends as well. Each of us had a few mates we were hanging out with all the time, and we were straight out of the studio into the car, and we'd get a copy of it, we'd put it in the car, and we'd drive around and listen to it. And all our mates were just like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, well, I've never heard you do anything like this. And they were so excited. We could see how much they loved it instantly, and they would sing along the second time they heard it, and we were like, okay, yeah, we've got something on this one, yeah.
People are still singing along. Saturday night at Froth and Fury, man, the people in the crowd, they were singing along for sure.
Yeah, that's mind
A
blowing.
lot of buzz, hey? What a buzz.
Dude, I kept looking at it all, like, and just, I saw him in the front row at first, every word, like, singing it passionately. And then I'm like, notice the third row, the fourth row, the fifth row, they're also singing it. I'm like, what is going on here?
So tell us about the process of writing a song, any song. How do you boys go about, how did you start writing songs and lyrics, and what comes first?
Yeah, well, for us, it was usually like a riff, you know, because we wrote in a jam room, really, like most of the songs. So we would, it would just be more like you're warming up, or you're trying to play this little trick, you're trying to do this little thing that you kind of learned on your own, and it was just me and Maddie together, or like just playing through. And we started like recording everything we did, because we would just like jam, just play and record, and then you would hear a couple of bits, you're like, oh, that was cool. And that kind of goes with that. Let's put those two together. And then we're like, okay, yeah, now we actually, and then you would kind of force yourself to maybe write another bit. So you're like, oh, that riff's really good. That could be like a verse, and this thing's really cool. It could be a chorus. But now we have to work out what a bridge would be or whatever, you know? So then that goes into like a different writing mode where it's like, it's a bit less natural. It's like, okay, yeah, we've got to make up something that fits. But that was basically it back in those days. But there was some odd ones out, like Ocean, where like Maddie just wrote on like acoustic guitar. So that was more of like I think lyrics first and the subject, and then so we knew his vibe, you know, he knew what he wanted it to feel like, because he wanted to write about the ocean and surfing and how the feeling that gave him and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, you listen to the lyrics and it's all there.
Right, yeah. So that was a much more planned, I guess. Like, yeah, he had this thing. He wanted to share, you know, his feelings about, you know, how much he enjoyed that surfing life and everything. So, yeah, it was very different than like, oh, yeah, that's a cool riff. Oh, let's make up some words that fit, you know. Like, yeah.
The process, you said you had music lessons at one stage. Did they teach you how to write music, or it kind of comes naturally?
No, well, none of the like instrumental lessons really taught us how to write anything. But in high school, they actually, when you're doing music theory, they teach you, you know, what you're supposed to do there. You know what a chorus is, and we're good. What a chorus is, and like what a bridge is, and you know how it fits in this key, and then you got to do this and that or whatever. So. Yeah, in high school they taught us a fair. We were really lucky to have a really like our high school musical teachers were amazing, like sick as. And there was a teacher band where the teachers had their own band, and they would play at lunchtime concerts and stuff as well, and they were mega. Like Ian Lehman, the guitarist, was such an amazing guitarist.
Do you remember, any of music teachers from back then?
Yeah, Ian Lehman was the biggest one. Yeah, he was just an absolute legend, man. Amazing guitarist, great guy, super helpful and encouraging. Taught Maddie a fair bit. Yeah, Mr. Taylor as well. What was his name? Kent or something? Taylor? He was on bass. And he was just a mega, you know, bass up high, playing it like this, really technical, playing everything really cool. And even just having that as an inspiration, going like, oh man, we could maybe play that good one day, you know, like, yeah. And it was such a cool vibe, you know.
Where did you take your inspirations from in your sound? I mean, you're bringing samples, you're not just playing drums. There's a fair bit going on. Where did you guys take inspiration from? Bands or?
Well, I felt like we made a decision early on to not necessarily like agree with each other, which I reckon was really cool. And we didn't like the same music. Like when we were in other bands, you would get together with mates that loved the same music as you did. So like you all loved Metallica, and you would get together and you would do some Metallica covers, and then you would try and write a song and it's going to sound like Metallica.
Yeah.
Whereas like I was saying earlier, like Maddie and I didn't even really like the same kind of music, you know? So I was like, I want to play this on the drums and do this because that's probably like the music I'm listening to. He's like, oh, no, I want to play this because that's like what I'm listening to. So then it kind of like joins together as something different. And then D definitely brought that same kind of like thing as well. And we accepted each other's like differences, you know. I didn't have to love what he was into, what he was into. It was just like, no, I get that. That's cool. You know, you do your thing, I'll do my thing, and it'll come together. But I think a lot of people were influenced in the same way. Like when the new metal thing came about, which I'm not sure we entirely fit into, but people kind of think we do. Like we were all influenced by Aerosmith and Run DMC, like Walk This Way.
When that came out,
Yeah, the mix of the rock and the rap. And then Bring the Noise, Public Enemy and Anthrax, right? They did that where it was really quite metal with the rapping over it. And we loved that so much, man. And then even Faith No More, you know, they were like kind of hard rock, but they had the real funky thing going on, with the keys and all the different sounds. And so, yeah, we were really intrigued by all of that kind of stuff. And really, we just bought a sampler and it became about the gear. We got a cheap secondhand sampler somehow, and it was very, very simple. This is in the 90s, so it didn't do much. It was like very, very short samples. We would like plug the TV or something into it and wait for something interesting to happen and hit record. And then at first we just played sounds between the songs, and then we'll like come up with a couple. I think maybe like Stomp was one of the first ones. It was like, oh, this kind of fits to the beat. This is cool. We got it from some old like midday
And is that
movie.
more your influence or Maddie's?
Well, I maybe started the sample thing just with like as like an effect kind of thing. But eventually Maddie really, really got into like EDM stuff, like electronic, like dance music. And I wasn't really that much of a fan, but I loved like more industrial stuff. So I was really into like White Zombie and Nine Inch Nails and all that kind of stuff. And they had a lot of the synths and, you know, the beats, the loops and stuff going. So it was a bit of a mix both ways. Like you hear something like No Other and it's a little bit more dancey. And we've written some other songs like that people probably haven't even heard. But yeah, so it's coming from both sides. There's that industrial kind of stuff, but then also more of like a dance music is like would be Maddie's version of it, yeah.
Killer. All right, so jumping back to Propaganda, we're talking around the year 2000. We're around, is that about right? 99, 2000?
Oh, you mean like Non-Comprehenders?
Non-Comprehenders, sorry.
Yeah. So I think Non-Comprehenders came out at the start of 2000 and, you know, Turn That Shit Up was the first single off it, which I think, came out in 99 before the album came out.
And that's, what was your record label? How was your structure of how you'd release your music over those stages?
It was kind of complicated. For Beasting and Friends, we were with a local record label called Krell Records. And then Sony came knocking and they wanted to sign us to Epic. And we did this weird, I don't even fully understand it, but it was a deal where we were on both record labels at once. We were still on Krell, but it was also Epic. And they'd like, I don't know, organised a deal between the two of them. I was like, okay, whatever. But that was kind of cool. Probably the biggest thing we learned from Sony was they hired a publicist. And that was probably
at your expense?
Well, yeah, everything's at our expense, yeah. But we did see a lot of value in that. Like if you're a band trying to get somewhere, or maybe even like any business that you want to promote publicly, like pay a publicist to do it, because they have great connections in the industry. Like they were mates with all the DJs and everything at Triple J, and they just knew the right things to do, the right things to say and take it.
Just accelerate. Everything can happen a lot faster.
Yeah, and the real good ones as well, they only take you on if they're interested, right? So they want to hear it. They want to know if they're going to have a chance to, you know, to get people to love it and take it on. So they, you know, you got to convince them first to be like, oh no, we're actually pretty good. You should like get on board. But yeah, we learned that kind of from Sony and did that a little bit afterwards as well, where you just hire a publicist to do that work for you, because as a drummer or a guitarist, you're not going to be any good at it, really. No. You try and do it yourself, you're just going to stuff it up. So yeah, get an expert to do that.
So you've gone from Krell Records, which were they Adelaide based or were they based?
Yeah. There's some I can't talk about it actually because of like contract issues. But yeah, they were in Adelaide.
Yep.
They were in Adelaide. They were kind of Like they hadn't done that much, but they had a bit of money. Like it was kind of a big company, even though they only had like, there was only 3 artists or something.
Yeah.
It was us and a Honey Fix and I don't know, there was someone else.
And then Sony came knocking.
Yeah, they came knocking. We had actually like a bunch of interest from different record labels. You know, they were always coming to our shows in Melbourne and Sydney. And sometimes it was annoying because like people would tell us, "Oh my God, that's the guy from blah, 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 over there." I'm like, "Oh, we don't care." And I think I remember we played a show and the guy from Sony, like the second we finished the last song, he was like up on the stage, shaking your hands, introducing himself, and just, it was pretty obvious. He was like very, very keen.
Yeah.
He was just like, wanted to like block all the other record companies out. It's like, oh,
I'm first in line.
I got you, yeah.
I'm Sony.
And, you know, then they schmoozed us a bit, you know, bought us lunch, gave us PlayStations and like, that was it, PlayStation at the time, games and, oh, you want any CDs, you want any albums, what are your favourite bands? And they send us all this free stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then yeah, we did
You
the
think you're on
contract
the way.
actually. Yeah.
And so, and how did that, how many years did that relationship go for?
Probably not all that long, actually. Yeah, it was really interesting. There's a bit of drama there that I probably can't really talk about either, which is boring. We're on a podcast, I should let it all out. But
and can you tell us what bit can't you say? It's because it's contract. You know, I don't understand. Forgive me, I don't understand.
Okay, so you can't tell a bit. Tell me the bit you can't tell.
No, well,
no, I got you.
Why can't you? Well, I understand you can't say something. Why can't you say?
I mean, on a personal level, I'd probably just also like rather not talk about it because I don't think like I don't necessarily want to like blame anyone for anything. Like things kind of happen.
Yep.
And then I don't even know if I understand it.
Okay.
Because I was a kid and I was like half out of it and yeah, I'd probably have a version of what happened, but is it everything that happened? Like I don't really know. I don't really know as well. Yeah, I only have my side of the story.
Because we used to use your music on my videos, and then it got to a point it got too difficult for me to do that as well.
Yeah. So there's all that. I remember it just being a real haggle because we essentially lost ownership of our own music. But the worst part was when there was this situation where if we wrote any new songs, they would own it.
Okay.
And we didn't want them to. So we were sitting there kind of like itching to write all this new music and kind of writing it, but no, we didn't really. But we couldn't share it with anyone at all because if it like existed, if it existed in reality, then it would be theirs and not ours. And we didn't want that. So it was just like, you know, and there was a bunch of years in, you know, talking to lawyers, spending basically all our money on lawyers to try and whatever. And it's crazy because when you're about to
win
sign
your own music back.
Yeah.
You win your rights to your own music back.
Yeah. And we tried really hard because you hear, the first thing you hear when you get into music is it's really, really difficult. They'll tear you apart. You got to be really, really careful, get good lawyers, look after yourself, read the contract 100 times and everything else. And we tried really, really hard to do it all right. We spent, you know, extra money to get the Silverchair boys, like, put us onto their lawyers, and they were like music lawyers. Like, that's what they did when we did our Sony contract. And so we thought we did everything the best way you could possibly do it, and then still ended up having some issues, you know. Yeah, it is what it is.
So what, the way out of that was to stop playing? Is that kind of what happened? Or when did you guys, when and why and how did you end up stop playing?
Getting into the dirt of it now. Yeah, I felt like we never officially said, okay, we're done, we're breaking up, we're not going to do it again. We kind of just like slowly like just went to other things. And I think it was due to that because of like the money stuff. So there was a point in time where we ran out of money and we felt like we couldn't do anything new because we didn't want them to own it. So all we could do was keep playing the old songs and trying to tour them to make money. But we'd done it a lot and we'd been there a lot.
It wasn't stimulating your mind.
Yeah, we needed something new. We felt like we couldn't. And we spent a lot of money on lawyers and stuff. So we ran out of money and we were just like, we had to kind of get some normal jobs and stuff like that.
You're still living in Adelaide?
Yeah. So we both started doing a little bit of work and I struggled to get work in Adelaide. I mean, you know, now I'd been a young guy that had been, in a band for, 10 years or whatever. 10 years? I don't know. Can I do math? 7 or 8 years, whatever it was. And I didn't have any work experience in anything but being in a band, so it was pretty hard to get a job. Maddie did some work in like wedding videos and stuff like that, which was really cool. We seemed to enjoy it. And I got a job offer in Queensland as a photographer, and I took it because I really needed a job, and I had family up there, so I took it, and that was kind of that, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit sad to think about, but
What year?
2008.
2008.
I moved January 2008. Yeah.
So from roughly 2000 to 2008, you guys were still performing and rocking and travelling?
No, we slowed down. I don't fully remember the details. I feel like 2005 was like, we played some shows, and then it really like slowed down from there, of course. I mean, that's 5 years after non-comp already, and we still couldn't do any new music. So
I think you had your Big Days Out was still around then, and you guys were involved with...
Yeah, we played on the Big Day Out in 2005, I think. Yeah, so we did Big Day Outs. They were epic, man. We did 96. We did 90 in Adelaide. I think we did 98. We did 99 in like Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide. Then we did 2000, like all of them, and then in Adelaide we did 2001 in Australia, and then 2003 and 2005, I think, in Adelaide, and so a lot of Big Day Outs, and it all blurs into one kind of thing. But yeah, that was a pretty amazing time. And then but like I said, this is like 5 years after non-comp, and we still couldn't really do anything new, so it was very difficult to kind of keep it going, and we didn't really have any money, so yeah,
that kind of faded out.
Yeah. So like I said, we didn't have any conversation. It wasn't like, okay, we're breaking up now, we're done. It was just like, well, I need a job. Sorry, boys, I got to go. I got this good job offer. I got to go do it, and that was that. And I don't know.
And but all you boys, you still, I mean, your brothers, you get along like brothers. But D, everyone's still, you're good mates.
Great mates. Yeah. No, we never really had any issues. I mean, I'll fight with my bro every now and then because we're brothers, like you say, like we do that. But nah, there's always a good connection, love each other, support each other a lot. So yeah, there wasn't any of that drama, when a band ends or breaks up, she's like fight, or one's cheated on the other one with their girlfriend or something like that. None of that bullshit.
You had some other awkward circumstances that you had to deal with.
Yeah.
The best way you could.
Yeah, that's all it really was. Yeah. So I don't know. After time passed, I think the contract thing that stopped us from writing music eventually ran out, because it was like 7 years or something like that, and it ran out. And then eventually we realised we had the rights so we could put the music online. So we added it to Spotify and all that kind of stuff, and even that was pretty cool because we got to see a good reaction from people, and a lot of people listening to it, and we're like, I really thought people would have forgotten about us by now, but here they are. Everyone's listening, and we're getting all these messages, and pretty much every year we'd get an email or some kind of message saying, okay guys, we've got this show we want you to do. You're going to play this gig for us. And every year at least one. But we wouldn't do it. The offers were too late. They were like, we got this gig for you to do, and it's in 2 months.
Yeah.
And
we
we
haven't played
for 6 years or something. Like, there's no way. We couldn't get it ready that quickly. Then I got coming all the way to now, and
you did get a phone call.
Froth and Fury.
Yeah.
We got a call, I think, in like March, and they said, we got this show, it's going to be amazing, and it's in November. So we're like, wow, okay, we're March now, we got till November. And they said, because we were good mates with Sunk Lodo, who are, also Queensland now, and they had made a comeback like the year before, and they played last year's Froth and Fury. And so Dane called, I talked to the boys from Sunks, and they were like, you guys really should do it. We did it. We didn't think we could, but we loved it. We enjoyed every moment of it. Like, you guys should get out there and do it. And then Cog invited us out to a gig, and they were playing in Brisbane. And we went and saw them in person, and hadn't seen them for years. And the Sunk boys were there. And, you know, like people like Yogi and Cherie, they were all hanging out, like people from the industry, you know, tour managers and stuff that were working back in the day, still working.
Yeah, still there.
Even though we've been out of the game for so long. And they were just like, remembered us and saw us and we caught up, and they were just so encouraging. They're like, yes, you guys have to do it. So, yeah, we agreed to the Froth and Fury and spent months stressing out, trying to work out how to play our songs again.
In that time, 2008, it's 2024. That's a long time.
Yeah.
16 years. Were you still playing music? Were you still on the drums?
Not really. Like,
Huh?
I bought an electric drum kit because I was living in, like, you know, 1-bedroom apartments and stuff like that on the Gold Coast. And yeah, you play a little bit, but it's not the same.
So 16
man.
years you haven't played, and you came back and you rocked Froth and Fury Saturday night. Like
Pretty
you did.
much,
That's
yeah.
pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah.
That's
No,
cool.
100%. So, I mean, like I said, we did rehearse for many months before Froth,
Yeah.
but
But,
they gave us that time to prepare.
But
yeah.
you weren't even together. Like you and Matt and Dee weren't necessarily rehearsing together, or you and Matt were, or
Oh, yeah. So Maddie and I did rehearse together because we both live in Queensland. But Dee was a remote. But technology's crazy these days, man. It's amazing. You know, we can get in a room and we can record us for free to, you know, Maddie and I playing, and we send it to Dee. And it's like, this is us playing. You can
how does that work?
rehearse along to it.
He's listening. Has he got visual? He's listening.
He can do
And
both,
you're-
yeah. He can
you're
do both. We can
live, you're
film it
doing this-
and record the audio.
So it's like kind of a Zoom call, but you're playing music.
No, it's not live. We just record it
Okay.
and send it to him. So here's a video and audio of us playing the songs and talking to him and be like, oh, yeah, like we made some changes to our songs and I want to do this, do that. And then so he's like got his bass out and headphones on and he's like
He's in his room
playing along
getting
at
back
home.
into it.
Like it's mind blowing to us from back in the day. There's no way you could do anything like that. But yeah, it's so easy now for nothing, you know. So
Look, I wanted to get all three of you boys in here. It hasn't worked this stage. We're going to hopefully line something up in the future.
I
But
reckon.
Dee's got a bit of a mad story, like along the way. Like you guys are brothers, so you and Matt have a good relationship.
Yeah.
Were you in touch with Dee over those years when you weren't playing?
yeah, I actually got Dee to move in with me in Queensland for a little bit. I think that was an underhanded like effort at maybe getting stuff back together. I talked Dee, like Maddie and I were enjoying it in Queensland. Weather was great, surf was good, everything was like, it was a good time. We talked to Dee a lot and he seemed like maybe he was a bit depressed, which we fully understood because it was hard, you know, post-band life was really difficult. You know, we had all that excitement and all that success and everything
You're on the
going
way
for
up.
us.
You're
So
a bit of a deal.
so mentally it was pretty difficult. So we talked him into moving to Queensland with us. So he moved into my apartment and he was there for, I don't know, 8 months or something. And it was really cool. We encouraged him to play more music. We actually did some open mic nights just secretly. Not TE music, but yeah, we'd go out to some local mic night and just like have a little jam and do all that. So we were vibing music a little bit, but just on like acoustic guitars and singing, you know. And then he got an offer to go to Dubai and play bass for a band for 6 months, like a 6-month contract. And he did that. And I don't know. I have to let him tell the details of the story when that happens. But he got himself sick. I don't know. Yeah, things happened. I think he got a blood clot on the flight and didn't really look after himself too well, I don't think. But
There's a story out there. People can find it. They can find that bit of the story.
yeah, he tells the story on his social, so you can check that version out. I'm sure he's got some more details he can share if we get him on the podcast
we'll get-
soon enough.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank my brothers here because I've been through quite a bit in the last couple of years, and they give me something to look forward to. I love playing music, and I love these boys. Love playing with them. Yeah, so I just like to say thank you to them, and thank you for coming out. And I love you too. And your older sister. Somebody give her a tissue.
He'd probably really enjoy having a chat to you. I
Yeah,
reckon,
definitely. So we'll get closer to today, 2024. You guys got the call in March. you're playing a gig November in Adelaide, Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
And you rocked up into town, last Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yeah.
And that's the first time that the three of yous were starting to play together again for 16 years, is that right?
Yeah, well, I came down like a few months ago to Adelaide and caught up with Dee, and Dee and I had like a moment and we did a thing together. But the whole three of us, yeah, it was, I mean, it's so weird to think about it's even possible that we rehearsed remotely apart from each other. But we only got together like, a week before the show, or not even, 4 or 5 days before the big show. We got together and we rehearsed together, and because we changed some songs too, so it was a little bit confusing, like remembering new arrangements and stuff like that.
And you were here, you're at Lion Arts Centre, you did a little rehearsal, then you had a little, practice show, but that didn't go smoothly. You're here, you're setting all your equipment up, and how did that go after having the stuff in storage for a while?
Yeah, man, we went through it. Hey, we had all our gear in storage for all those years. We didn't get rid of anything, and then when we first started rehearsing for the shows, we pulled everything out and this won't turn on. This won't turn on. This one's blowing up. So we spent a lot of time, taking gear in to get repaired and fixed, new power supplies and new valves, and we had to get guitars completely rebuilt because they were just going out of tune and all sorts of issues. And then even, luckily, oh my gosh, luckily we broke everything in rehearsals and not at Froth. I absolutely annihilated my old kick drum pedal during rehearsals at Lion Arts, the day before Froth. And there was no coming back from that. I had to go buy a new one. And stuff like that, because it's all old, we're like, she'll be right, it's been good for a long time, but it wasn't all right.
It wasn't all right.
And we play pretty hard, we treat our instruments pretty roughly, so we had a lot of work to do there. And but also we made a decision to change technology as well. When we first started rehearsing, we were like, we're just going to do everything exactly the same as we used to do, use the same old gear. But then we started to run into problems where gear wasn't quite working properly, and we realized new technology makes things easier. There's better ways to do things now, so we can do it differently. But then we took that on, and it was a big learning curve.
You have to learn the new technology to operate.
Yeah, and we'd been so out of the game, we had no idea. So we had to learn how to use all of this new gear, which did, I think, make it better or easier.
How long did you have to learn this new gear?
I mean, it was a mix, man. We just kept buying stuff, to be honest.
In the last few weeks or months?
Days.
Days.
We probably, no, not probably. We definitely made some mistakes because we a few months out, we bought all this gear and we were like, we'll we'll sort this out and get to know it. But then as we got closer, we were like, because we were using the new gear and learning it, we're like, no, we also need this as well. And then we need this as well. They just kind of started doing this. And so we ended up just a few days before buying, this extra stuff to add on because we was getting all these new ideas. But then, we only had a couple of days to learn it all. And then even at Froth, I was backstage still trying to work out how to use the freaking thing.
Tell us about that. Froth and Fury. Port Adelaide Hearts Mill. We just had it on Saturday. Tell me a little bit, how did that feel coming back and just walking out on stage or looking out there?
It was epic. We got treated so well. Jason North from Froth, he looked after us so hardcore. He gave us a great spot on the show. He just the nicest guy, treated us really well, looked after us the whole time, so encouraging. He was like, you guys can do it. Because at first we were like, can we even do it? And he was like, no, we believe in you. There's so many people that love you, want to come out, you've got to be a part of this. And so for starters, that was great. And then backstage, a lot of the stage techs and everything were the same people from 20-something years ago. We're seeing all these familiar faces and being like, hang on, I know you. Didn't we do a gig together in 2002 or something? So that was cool to just to see all the old people around. And then even family. Yourself, you know, we worked with you in the 90s and then you were there running around with video cameras again. And it was pretty, it was just fun from that aspect. But then I did have a whole bunch of stress getting everything ready just on a technical front, which is, not ideal because I just wanted to just enjoy it. But man, yeah, getting out on stage and the massive crowd and everyone's wearing our merch and singing along to the songs. And like I've said multiple times, I honestly thought people would forget us and not really care. And it was just mind blowing to see how many people cared and how many people not just sang the words, but were singing it passionately, they were feeling it, and it's just wow, we had an impact, we really did.
Oh, 100%. And look, watching you guys those few days before, man, it looked like you've been doing this forever. You guys seem to fit back into that spot so neatly. You guys, yeah, you rocked it. You really did.
Thank you.
Yeah, it didn't look like there was nerves or stress or anything. Everything from my perspective, that was just a killer show. And I think the crowd and everyone were all there with you.
I had the funniest nightmares leading up to the shows. I would have dreams that I would be walking out on stage and everything was great, and I'd look down and I had no drumsticks, or there was no skins on my kit. I was just had all these series of things like that because seems dumb, but it's those little things that you forget, you used to put a couple of sticks here and there and everything else, and I just thought, I'm just going to roll up there and, I don't know, just forget what I'm supposed to do, So I think I was so worried and nervous about stuffing everything up that I put a lot of time and effort into rehearsing and getting as good as I could on the drums and all that kind of stuff again, so... Yeah, I didn't want to be laughed at,
No. Oh, no, definitely not. All right, so what next?
Wow, big question. I don't know. Can I tell you some secrets and then you can cut it?
I won't tell anyone.
We can tell you if we can share it
There's
later.
only 3 people watch this anyway.
I don't know. I hate making
can't
promises.
say anything.
I hate making promises in case it doesn't happen. But there's things that could happen. Yeah, there's things that could happen next year. Not this year, I don't think. We're going to just kind
You're
of
going to sit on this. But you guys enjoyed yourselves, the 3 of you.
Yeah.
And Dad and the crew. You had a great time.
We super enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a really, really, really good time for us. So, yeah, we'll sit on it for a bit and just kind of soak it all in and see how it went. And then if, if people are still keen next year, I feel like something probably could happen. We're kind of talking to people, talking about ideas, things that we can do. So next year,
Maybe
believe it
relight
or
the
not.
fire, hey?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, relight the fire for sure. So it'll be 25 years next year from Non-Comprehenders. So, that's something. That's an anniversary, right?
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, look, I reckon we've had an awesome chat. I could keep going for ages. It's getting a bit hot in here. I probably need a toilet break and some food and all the rest of it. Cameras are all starting to fail now. I always like to try and leave on a bit of a positive note. Unless, hang on, is there any more shout outs? Before we get to that, is there... Man, you guys have come back for a long time. Is there anything you'd like to...
Yeah.
I don't know who's listening.
I've said them, but I'll say it again. Jason North for Froth and Fury, making that happen is great. Doug Bear, who was very much involved from Rare Records of making it all happen. He was also involved in the Sunk Glodo comeback, and which, him and the Sunk Boys all encouraged us, which is great. And also shout out to, Sasha from Adelaide Uni back in the day, Sasha Sill, for helping us so much. And again, we wouldn't be who we are without people like that in the industry. There's so many people. Jessica, Cherie, oh my God, let's shout out to everyone doing their bit. Reggie is an absolute legend. We've actually had some crazy support, man, unbelievable support from other people in bands, and there was times during this where I was like, I don't know if I can do this, man. This is a lot of work and it's really, really hard. And I would tell one person that I was really nervous and worried about it. And next minute, I'm getting all these phone calls. Hey, mate, how you feeling? You doing all right? Is there anything I can do to help you out, support? I know it must be tough to come back, but I believe in you. I reckon you can do it, And so they were obviously all talking to each other and being like, the boys need some support. Get in there,
You got a big net.
Have a chat to them. And I'm mind-blowing how much all these people supported us. And so shout out to all of them.
Oh, it's been brilliant seeing it. I was so stoked when I posted some videos and someone said, "Oh, they're playing again." Oh, I was just beaming for months knowing that you guys were playing again. It's such an honour to have you here.
Thanks, man.
But like to end on a positive note, if you've had bad days, we all have good and bad days. There's someone out there that's having a bad day. Any words of advice to just lift that person up and pick that person up, finish on a good note?
Yeah, don't know. I'd just say like tomorrow is going to be better. That's pretty cliche, isn't it? But I don't know. I don't want to try and force anyone out of a bad time because we all have them, and I reckon it's best to know that it's okay to have a bad day. You know, like I used to kind of judge myself for having a struggle, but we have them every now and then, and like it's part of life, and tomorrow something nice will happen, I'm sure. And I don't know, I guess, yeah, you got to find something you really enjoy and just get at it, just force it to happen. Like, be selfish as well. Like, just, yeah, if you're having a bad day today, be selfish tomorrow, do that one thing that just you really love to do. And even if that means you got to cancel on other people or not do the thing you're supposed to do, this might be bad advice, but yeah, just find that one thing you love and just get it done, man.
Well, I reckon that's what you guys did on the weekend, and it was so awesome to see you come back and play after 16 years. Ady Matt from the Testeagles, thank you so much for hanging out with me here this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Zoe.
Cheers, man. That's a wrap.